Welcome back to another episode of the Danny Beal Show. Today we had on a very special guest, very good friend of mine, great mentor of mine as well, Blake Hardegree. Blake is the former director of baseball operations at ECU, but we had a great conversation. A lot of you guys know him, you love him. Obviously, a lot of talk about his walk in his faith, talks about Coach Godwin, talks about his son Graham, obviously his life and his trail through baseball playing and into his coaching days, but a great conversation. But without further ado, let's get into it. Hope you guys enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of the Danny Beal Show. Today we have another very, very special guest. Getting away from the players last week with Brian Dilday and staying on that same track today with former director of baseball operations, Coach Prime enthusiast.
Absolutely.
Father of one, you know him, you love him. Blake Hardegree. Thanks for coming on, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it. Happy to be here, man.
How you been?
Fired up. Good, man. How about you?
Hanging in there. Doing this for a few episodes.
I know. This is Pirate Nation. I mean, how lucky are you to have Danny Beal do this?
Right,
this is awesome.
I was setting up in here earlier, and we have the sound going out through the radio station. I heard my own commercial, and I was like, all right, this is getting kind of weird for me. It's cool, but it's like, oh, geez, my own commercial on the radio, really?
It's so enjoy it, man. You're working hard for it. It's cool. Yeah.
But how you been? How obviously I said former or after the director of baseball operations, but how's life been after post ECU?
Man, it's been good and slow, which is interesting, right? You go from a fast pace, here we go, like let's go, like what's next, to like, yeah, season's over, you wake up the next day and it's boom, next team, how do we win?
Yeah, it's so seriously. You know? Yeah, no.
I remember my first day I woke up and my wife's like, what are you gonna do? And I go, I have no idea.
Nothing, and it feels great.
I have no idea. Yeah, it was like, man, but it was good. I took 2 months off. It was like a little sabbatical. It's kind of cool. The wife loved it because I did everything under the house. Yeah. I fixed holes in my ceiling. I stepped through my ceiling at one point.
Is that right? Did not know that. Probably, yeah, geez, that's terrifying.
Hey, learn a new skill. It was good.
It was one of those
Jocko moments.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get into that later. Don't you worry. But for people that don't know, at least fill them kind of in on what you're doing now. Obviously, they knew you as the go-to guy for the players, Coach Godwin's right-hand man and stuff. But now that you've moved on, what are you up to in the job world now?
Yep. So I took a job with Grover Gaming, working for GB over there. Awesome. Like, literally, it's the perfect job leaving ECU baseball because it's ran somewhat similar, if that makes sense. So they have mission, vision, values, and what's cool, man, is like people there, they live it out just like the players would live it out at ECU baseball. So you go in there and you're like, hey man, we're all pulling from the same rope, because when I worked with people as an ops guy, it was like you find, I don't mean to call them common people, but you go like,
not us.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I need you to do your job, and they're like, if I feel like it. And I was worried about that going in there, and it is not like that, man. It is a well-oiled machine. Like, they get after it, and it's just good, man. So, I'm working there, helping out with their casino department, which has been super fun and a lot of learning, which is good.
I bet. Yeah. No, well, I mean, it's cool that you mentioned that, how it's ran that way, because obviously, as most people know, Garrett and Coach Godwin were like best friends. Yeah. And so you kind of see where the same kind of values came from their time together, of how they each run their programs, companies, whichever you want to call it. Of you get to experience both sides of it, of like, yeah, this is Coach Godwin, but at the same time, they're honestly ran the same, like similar way, at least from the conversations that you and I have had. It is a seamless transition, especially for a guy that's so high energy and positive like you. It's like, it's right into the same, it's different people, but it's the same kind of environment.
Sure. Yeah. And it's just awesome, man. Like I always tell people, success leaves clues. That's right. And it's like, successful people hang out with successful people. And it's like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense why y'all are both successful. It makes a lot of sense.
It's crazy. Well, good. I'm glad you're doing well. But for the people that don't know, I guess at least, let's go back to little Blake. Let's take it all the way back to Amarillo, Texas. Let's go through, obviously, your journey through going to Samford, obviously here, and all the other stops on your baseball journey. But let's start with good old Texas boy.
Little Texas boy, yeah. So man, I grew up in Amarillo. Loved it, man. I had a blast. I had a bunch of brothers and sisters. So there's 5 of us total, including me, and then I have 2 other siblings who are half from my dad's first marriage. So, man, there's a lot of family all the time. You know what I mean? Not like the biggest and brightest. We weren't like the most
I'll tell you so short
successful family, right? Yeah. But it's funny, man. My family, it's just, we got some crazy stories. I got my oldest brother is working for Blue Origin, building rocket parts, taking people to space.
Like, that's so cool, dude.
Isn't that nuts? Yeah. Well, I laugh because when we were kids, man, he used to like build all these model things, and I was so excited for him to build them, and I'd be like, I'm gonna break that. And then he was like, cool, I'll just rebuild it. And I'm like, I can't wait to break this.
Yeah, I'm going to Hulk smash it, and you're just going to rebuild it, and we're all going to be happy. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And so, well, he wasn't always happy, but we had some good, healthy conflict.
Yeah, as siblings would.
Sure.
For everybody that heard the Jake and Zach Agnos interview, it was the same thing. It's like they haven't missed a beat. It was just brother bickering right to the end, which was funny, which is the exact same thing you're talking about.
That's how it should be. Yep. That's right. But yeah, man, grew up there. Lived 18 years there. Never really left there. I played baseball, and then I ended up going to school in Oklahoma for a couple of years. Left there, went to a school in Northwest Missouri State up in Missouri. Kind of like played baseball, took a year off. I transferred before transferring was cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So I actually had to sit out a year because I transferred.
I remember those days.
So that was right. Yeah. So I redshirted that year. Best year of my life, man, because I actually grew up a lot that year. And I was in a totally new place. I knew 1 or 2 people there, Jay and Candace. They were awesome. Jay and Carl, he was in my wedding. But my first school, I played with him, and he's like, he'll laugh if he hears this, but he was like 28 years old. He wasn't actually 28. But he was like,
he seemed like it, yeah.
Yeah, he was
been there forever.
23, and he was awesome, man. Just a good dude, big heart. Just took you under your wing. And so when he went to school there to work as a GA, as a sports information guy, he was like, hey, man, come play baseball here. This place, they need somebody. And so I was like, sure, man. And so I went out there and did that, and then ended up meeting my wife out there.
Did you? I didn't know that's where I found out news stories just like everybody else does. I didn't know that's where you guys met.
Yep, we met at school. We both took a class we actually didn't need, come to find out. It met once a week for 8 weeks.
It's crazy how God works in those weird ways.
No doubt about it. So thankful for that. But yeah, we both missed the first one. I had a tonsillectomy, and so that's why I missed it. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
And then my wife just added it late. And then so she comes in, and it's so funny, man. I can still see it. She comes in. I literally can't talk because I have my tonsils out. Like, I'm writing things on a note. Like, showing people, like, hey, I don't know about this. Yeah. And she walks in, and they're like, oh, our teacher, Dr. Vetter, was like, who I had her in a bunch of classes before. So I had a good relationship with her. And she goes, oh, you two are going to be partners.
And when you were like, yes.
I saw her, I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
And she I had long hair at the time.
Oh, if you haven't seen this picture, we'll try to edit it in for the producer. But dude, this picture of Blake is unbelievable. You see him now. Good look. You see him now. It's like a Trevor Lawrence lookalike. It's crazy. The hair. Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Yeah. Nickname was Sunshine, so it's kind of
perfect.
Yeah. But it was funny, man, because no, dude, if you ask her, it's the complete opposite story. She's like, you got to be kidding me. I'm with this guy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm stuck with this loser.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm like, what do you want to meet about?
Yeah, exactly. What's your favorite color?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, yeah, that's right. That's super funny. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know if I skipped over a bunch of stuff or anything, but yeah, grew up in Amarillo. Awesome family. Went to college there, and then so Matt Johnson. That's kind of how my coaching got started.
Yeah.
Playing baseball. Met her, and then there was a summer ball opportunity my last year playing to coach, and I wasn't really looking to coach, but Matt Johnson, he had coached at Northwest, and then he started doing the summer ball thing. And it's just
where was the summer ball team?
St. Joe, Missouri, which Man, I tell people if you can go play summer ball there, it's electric.
Really,
the crowds they're into it. Like,
dude, Midwestern people take baseball really serious. I mean, you see Cardinals and Cubs
awesome.
games. It's like it's the World Series every day.
That's it, right? Man. And you're right by Kansas City. It's like 45 minutes away.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome.
This episode of the Danny Beal Show is brought to you by Tiebreakers. Tiebreakers open every day at 11 a.m. and is the best place to watch your favorite sports while enjoying the best wings in town. They also offer sandwiches, appetizers, cold beer, and more. Follow Tiebreakers on Facebook and Instagram for daily updates. Tiebreakers in Greenville at Bell's Fork, on Greenville Boulevard, and in downtown Winterville on Railroad Street. Bram Anderson, the owner of Tiebreakers, has been a great friend of mine for a long time. His two sons play at D.H. Conley. They play baseball. Great people. I sat with them at the banquet when I was a freshman, the baseball banquet, of course. They've always been huge supporters of ECU baseball. So go support them. It's a great place to watch a game, enjoy cold beer, and a nice meal. So go support them when you can and enjoy their food.
But, man, it was fun, man. So Matt Johnson was like, hey, just come coach. Mm-hmm. I think you need to be in the game. And I was like, I guess.
Whatever.
I mean, but I'll do it. I need a job.
Yeah.
And so I did an internship while doing it. And so I did like some stadium ops stuff.
I was just about to say, was it more like on-field stuff or was it just like behind the scenes, like making stuff happen kind of thing?
I was very lucky with that. It was supposed to be like more in-house, like operation stuff.
Right.
And it turned into a lot of just coaching stuff. So
isn't that crazy?
It was a good internship.
Yeah, exactly.
I got paid too. That was a win-win. So that was kind of nice.
Not many people can say they get paid for, especially for summer internships.
Sure.
At a summer ball team, and not many people could say, "Yeah, I got paid doing stuff." So that's special.
Sure. All I did was I raked a bullpen sometimes. That was about it.
Yeah, that'll work.
So it was kind of nice, but coaching was awesome, man. And that was the part where I was like, you know what? This is pretty cool. I get to hang out with these guys. They listen to me, and they're getting better. Maybe I'm good at this, you know? Like,
it was your call. It was your calling before you realized it was your calling. That's the best part, right?
So it was fun, man. I enjoyed that. I'm super thankful for Matt Johnson, man. He literally was like, yeah, keep doing it. So we did that, and we smoked that league. We won it. We won the championship, so that was super cool.
Yeah.
And so I had one more year of school left, and I was out of school. So I started coaching at a local high school.
Really?
Maryville Spoof Hounds, the only spoof hound in the country.
What a name.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Spoof Hound. That's nice.
Yes, that's right. It was cool, man. So I did that, and then I coached summer ball there again in 2016, and we lost to Sedalia, which I hate Sedalia. I can't talk about them, so if they watch this, sorry.
Still leave scars 8 years later.
Literally, I'm telling you, the guy hit a foul ball, and umpire called it fair. We lost by 1 in the last inning.
Wait, hold on. Jada just hit a walk-off. Let's call time because the sun was in my eyes.
That's how it felt.
Nonsense.
Literally, that was the same
Nonsense.
feeling.
Nonsense.
It was crazy.
She's like, what's going on?
Sure. Yeah. That's exactly how it felt. Like, word for word.
Yeah.
I got nothing good for Sedalia, so.
Yeah. Well, after that, at least, you did officially start your coaching career.
Yep.
Post your baseball playing, obviously. What was that like?
So it was good. So basically, there's this junior college, Iowa Lakes Community College, and I applied for it. And the next day I get a phone call. And I really don't know what I'm going to do. I was just hoping for the best, applying to anything. And this guy calls me, hey, you want it? I was like, sure. Not knowing nothing about this place.
You're just like, yeah, happy-go-lucky, let's do it.
That's right. Yep. So I took it, made a little bit of money with not much, but it was perfect because I was an RA. So I helped out with housing. I coached baseball, took care of the field, but it made me grow up real fast.
I feel like you had to, right? Yeah,
hugely.
Yeah,
right?
especially with Sarah still too, because were you guys obviously together, but
Sure.
in the same living together and all that stuff?
No, she had one more year of school.
Yeah, see, that's especially when you're on your own, dude.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
I remember going up there and being like, "Man, it's freezing cold. We're in Iowa. This is nuts." Yeah. And when I met the team, at the time we weren't that great, mm-hmm. and so which we ended up getting better, which was good. But you roll in and you watch. You're at this D2 school I played at, we weren't just unbelievable. We were just average go lucky, and we played hard and we did things. But I had really never been on a losing team. My first year in college, that was crazy.
Miserable.
We were 5-45. That was tough.
Blake, what?
That's a true story.
You won 5 games in.
Yeah, we won the first 2 games, and then I can't remember exactly, but we lost 31 straight or something crazy.
5 games.
It was tough.
And you won, bro. What? That is a borderline trying to. You were, and there was no throwing games. It was you were trying to win the whole time.
No, man, it was that was real.
Oh man! All right, well, that's another story for another time. If people want to hear and ask about it, that's something that needs to be talked about.
Sure.
But sorry, keep going. That's unbelievable.
No, I get it. But yeah, I'd just always been on winning teams, and so except that one.
Yeah.
And it's one of those like, man. And so you get there, and you have a losing team, and it really taught me kind of like what it takes to pour into people. So I'm very like Joey Pavlovich. I'm so thankful for him. Me and him. I think I was 23 and he was 26 at the time. He might have been 25. He had just taken over like the year before, maybe 2 years. And dude, the guy's passionate, man. Like wears it on his sleeve. And we're both young and we think we're going to beat everybody.
Yeah, right? Yeah. World conquerors. Yeah.
That's right.
At 23 and 26 years old.
Yep. And man, I remember, I'll never forget, we went and played Iowa Western, who was like top whatever. And we got just obliterated.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even.
We had
fun.
a pitcher come from there a couple years ago, right?
They're good, great teams.
Yeah,
man.
I was about to say.
It's like I remember we played some guys going to Arkansas. It's like who's your number 2? He's like going to Ole Miss, and you're like, oh, our guys.
Oh, okay, yeah,
our guys are good too.
yeah. I don't know if they're SEC good, like top of the line, but we'll talk about it.
Sure. But it was good, man, because we saw what we needed to go get, the type of player.
Right.
And it was like, man, because I can't remember, we won like 13 games or something. I don't really get caught up in the wins and losses.
Besides the 5 and 45, of course.
Well, yeah, that was when you're a player and you're like, yeah, that's on us. That's bad. Yeah. Like, I mean, the coaches do have a part. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But that's tough. Yeah. But no, man, it was good because it really taught you like what you need to do. It opened your eyes to like, okay, this is what we have. How do we make what we have good? And I started like researching coaches. I was like, man, okay, so we need to get somewhere. And so the first thing I did is I went to my home. I was like, Texas, University of Texas baseball. Augie Garrido's the man. What does he do? And everything I watch about him is about people. He's like, you want to win? You talk about people. Give them expectations. Love on them. Do that. You'll win. And I was like, hey, man, you have good players, you'll win. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And that's part of it. You got to have good players.
You have to. You don't have a choice, yeah.
Sure. But if you have good players and they don't believe in what you're saying, they don't do what you're saying, it's hard to win.
Defeats the purpose.
That's right. And so it's a relationship based. It's like anything. You know, it's biblical is what I tell people. He wants a relationship. People want relationships. They want to feel that, right? And so kind of man, I'll tell you what, we got to know those kids like on a deep level. And we had a bunch
the way it should be, dude. Seriously.
100%. I mean, I had kids in my office at like middle of the night. We were going through hard life things. Like really, I mean, I remember sitting there being like,
you're playing
this is being a baseball coach?
You're playing therapist, literally. Yeah.
100%. You're like, what do we do for this guy? I don't know anybody who's ever done that.
Yeah.
No, I'm supposed to help you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you go through it with them and you see this like bond, man. And you just develop. And the crazy thing is though, the crazy thing about coaching is you leave those places. That's what's crazy. And because you pour in, because that's what happened. I coached there and then I left and I went to Samford in 2018.
Was there a specific reason? I'm sure Sarah certainly had a part to play in it, but was there a specific reason for like, all right, now is the time to move on?
It was one of those. It actually was. I always dreamed of being Division I player. Always wanted. It was like it's honestly my ego took me there, to be honest. But it was kind of like a
chasing a dream kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think it was God opening a door.
To being knowing where we are now, of course. Yeah, hindsight's 2020. Yeah, exactly.
No doubt. At the time, I was really chasing the D1 lifestyle. So yeah. You're a D1 player, so you've lived that lifestyle.
Yeah. Okay.
But when you're D2 and you got to pay for all your stuff,
we're eating McDonald's on the it's funny because literally, Coach Godwin said this the other day. He was talking about how John Collins, who's a 6-year catcher that they just had join the team, was like telling all the guys that have been there, like, you guys have no idea how good you have it. And he came from a Power 5 school, which is crazy to think about. Where it's like, I mean, I've played with summer ball guys where they're D2, D3, and they're good players on good teams, and they'll be like, how do you guys travel? I'll be like, yeah, we'll normally charter from back from away series, and we'll have a bus waiting there to get us, and we'll get back. We'll go to class next day, and they're like, seriously? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, well, if we go like 2 states over, it's like a 4-day bus trip because we can't fly because we don't have enough money. We're not really well funded. You guys really just have no clue how good you have it. And I'm like, Okay, maybe I shouldn't complain to Blake about why our flights leaving.
I like John Collins.
Why our flights leaving at 8 a.m. and I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. Yeah,
dude, I will say ECU is so loved on by people, and they can do so many great things. And obviously, but the players, man, there's so much I could talk about that, which I'm sure we'll dive into that later. But the players, they've earned that.
Yeah,
and our community has earned that because they deserve it. How much goes into this place?
Unreal.
It's incredible.
Unreal.
It's incredible. I'll tell you, sure, there's fan bases at Ole Miss and LSU and all those places, but the fan base here is unmatched when it comes to passion.
Every single episode that I've had of this show, there has been one thing that we have talked about baseball wise.
Sure.
What do you think it is?
Our fan base.
But what specific moment? There's one.
It's probably my favorite baseball moment, but the University of Texas Super Regional.
Every single 100%. Guest. And Jake wasn't even here, and he talked about it.
Really?
Jake and Zach, Brian Dilday, Trey, Carter. Obviously, Zach, Carter, and Trey got to actually be in the dugout and experience it. Same thing with you.
Sure.
But hearing people that like watched it on TV.
Yep.
We're in the jungle. We're in the stands. Talk about like the environment.
Sure.
Like Carter brought up a point where he's like, one of his favorite moments was when they were chanting "Purple Gold," obviously before the game. You know how it goes, but
it's awesome.
One of the loudest I've ever heard, probably the loudest.
Sure.
But he talked about he's like getting chills talking about it. He's like, the jungle would yell "Purple." There's like a 2-second silence where literally you could hear a pin drop throughout the entire city of Greenville,
sure.
And then they say "Gold."
It was so awesome.
And it's like, oh man, just to go back and experience that moment. But yes, and that was gonna be one of my questions later was, what was your favorite baseball moment? But I guess we already answered it. But
man,
it's
which I got a unique answer for that, but that's part of it because it's funny. This is a little selfish about it, but like it's crazy. We played the University of Texas, and I'm sitting here like, man, dude, this is like where I'm from.
Well, you see the Longhorn logo on the scoreboard, you're like, oh, we're in the big leagues now.
I got a crazy story. We were doing bat testing. And I don't remember who it was, but there was a manager that walked in, and we had this Gavin Williams in the pitching indoor, like first round.
Oh, I've heard this story. I've heard this.
I was so mad.
Oh, dude.
So they were like, "Wow, you guys had a first rounder. You guys are like kind of good." And
hey, you're at our park, brother.
I was like, you just pissed off the nicest guy ever.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Like, who's that guy? Yeah.
That's what I said.
Dude.
I said, hey, man, you guys are at our park
during
the Super Regional. You know that, right?
Yeah. Respect the ground you're walking on, brother.
He's like, oh, yeah. No, you guys, yeah. He's like, I just didn't know you had that kind of talent. I was like, I want to bury this
I literally want to put this guy in the ground. Yeah, no doubt.
100%.
No doubt.
But no, you're talking about the fans, man. That is one thing I took a moment in the diet. Coach Godwin always says it. He goes, hey, man, when you guys run out there, take it in.
Well, he always tells that story about Ryder and Turner too.
That's right. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that. Like, I'm going to actually do that. Because normally I'm thinking, hey, what do we got to do? I got to go do this, move this, do whatever. And I sat in the dugout. And you listen to this Purple Gold. But also, I remember their pitcher was warming up. And I love the student section is so loud. It's like, whoop, whoop, the ball. Yeah. And I was like, dude, this is unreal. Gosh. You got everybody doing the horns down. And I'm just like, this community. This is unbelievable.
Unmatched.
And then you watching the players, they're just like smiling ear to ear,
literally.
It's like, dude, this is unreal. Yeah. The dugout shaking from out loud.
Gosh.
I remember we were sitting there talking and we're like screaming at each other.
We're standing right next to each other. Like, what'd you say? Yeah.
It's awesome, man.
Crazy. All right, but not to get sidetracked.
Yeah,
we'll get into that Texas. We'll talk more about it. But,
welcome talking to Blake Hardegree. Get sidetracked.
Yeah. But going back to Samford, at least, where your kind of coaching career evolved into, like you said, chasing the D1 aspect of it. Like, how many years were you there? What was it like? Obviously, you played in regionals, correct, at Samford?
We did it in 2018.
So you kind of got a little taste of it before you became a Pirate of like, all right, this is what it takes.
Yeah, literally. So Coach Don is kind of crazy. So what happened was there was a job opening in the middle of the winter, right? And so I told my coach, I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to apply for this. The odds of me getting it's like probably 0. Like, I don't know anything, right? Send him an email. 20 minutes go by. I'm getting a phone call from this guy in Alabama. Hey, man, how you doing? And he's got this crazy Southern accent, man.
How you doing, Mr. Hardegree? Yeah.
If I could reenact that, I would. I'm terrible, but it was awesome, man. And so I remember, like, I was shaking on the phone call, like, I was not prepared for this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, I can do this. He's like, it's like a volunteer operations job. Like, you don't get paid. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm good. Yeah, like, this is cool. Not thinking at all.
Literally just spitting word vomit.
I'm just like, sure. Opportunity, let's take it.
Right? D1, Alabama, let's ride. Yeah.
Sure. And by the way, 2 weeks before, I had just like dropped to my knee and asked Sarah to be my wife forever. So I just got engaged. She had just moved to Iowa and started teaching. Yeah, I didn't plan it out.
Yeah, no, hey, look where we are now. It all worked out.
One of those, like, I'm doing this. Yeah. And I remember I hung up the phone. I went and told Joey. And Joey was awesome, man. He was super supportive. He's like, obviously, I don't want to lose you right before the season. And I'm like, yeah, but dude, this is
pretty cool. Come on.
Super selfish. Yeah. And I look back and I'm like, man, did I do that right? And maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But it helped me get to where I am today. And so I'm thankful for that. But Joey was great, man. Told me to take it. And so I took it. But how I had to take it was I had to call my wife's dad, who's just incredible, man. But I said, hey, I need a little bit of money to take this job. I'm about to drive to Alabama where I know nobody. I'm going to live in our pitching coach's house until we can find a place, which I ended up living with the players the rest of the year.
Are you serious?
Crazy.
That's awesome. My goodness. That's okay. Yeah.
You've got to tell us crazy stuff. So my family, we weren't the most wealthy family. Right. And so I was like, can't ask my mom for money. Yeah. So like, I'll ask her. And if not, I'll go to the bank and try to take out some money. I don't know. I didn't have much. I was working a couple jobs. I worked as quality assurance when I was in Iowa. We were making tractor tires. And so I would inspect tractor tires.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I did
many trades.
That's it. Yes. So I did that from like 5 a.m. to like 8. Then I went in, worked housing, recruiting. We were doing all that kind of stuff. So I did that. So that was fun.
Sounds like a blast.
Right. Yeah. Well, I only got paid like $600 a month to be a RA, but I didn't pay for living because I lived in a dorm, and I ate for free, which was cool.
That is, well, it takes so many expenses away in the grand scheme of things when you're having to do so much already.
1,000%, right? Yeah. And so I was saving as much money as I could, paying off loans, all student loans, stuff like that. And so this thing came, and I was like, man, I've got like $300. This ain't gonna work. And so I asked him, and he's like, all right, but you got to pay me back. I said, deal. And I've got no source of income when I get
none. And you're just like, yeah, let's do it.
I just believed Coach Dunn, and I said, hey, I believe you. If I can make money, let's do it. In which, hey, man, and it was like a God thing, man. God provided. It was like, hey, how am I going to do this? And then Casey's like, hey, just do this. And then so I just kind of took with his advice, and I made flyers. So like I'd pass them out to people, and it worked. And it was like, these thoughts, I was just like, man, just so grateful that those opportunities happen, if that makes sense. And so you're doing it, and it's like, man, I'm actually making some money doing this.
Yeah, no, literally.
Cool. Like, I wasn't getting paid from him, but it was like, he'd be like, hey, on Mondays, we're going to practice at this time. You can do lessons from here to here. And I was like, that's like 5 hours. Like, that's perfect.
That's so many lessons.
Yeah. I'm like, let's do that. And so it was awesome, man. And it was cool, man, because you got involved in the community. You really got to know them. And Samford's a honey hole, man. They've always been good. Since Coach Dunn's been there, even Coach David now, they're good. They go to regionals, they compete, they are at the top, man. And so that's where I just got to sit back and watch Coach Dunn just like coach players and like his expectations for them. And then you listen to these conversations and you learn, and you're like, now you start looking for what he's looking for in players, and you learn all that, and you're like, man, and like watching them build guys and get closer and give them rope to be leaders, and you do all these things, and you're just like, man, this is impressive. Like,
and you're in SEC country, so it's not like you're not playing good competition too. So you're being able to compare, contrast, and see what it takes at other programs too, which is cool.
Well, and that was the crazy part, man. I remember going there, and like my first week, they're really close with Auburn. Casey had played there, and my first week at work, we were learning this BAT system. It's like which they use at ECU, but it's this like video system that you can like keep stats and track all these things and track pitches, give you numbers. And this guy at Auburn was awesome. His name was Blake too, actually. And Coach Dunn was like, hey man, will you just show him how to do it? So my first week, I'm like, wait, I'm gonna drive to Auburn.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And so I go there and we start doing stuff. And I'm like a little kid. I'm like, dude, this place.
Yeah, you're in a cane store, just like big-eyed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'm like trying to be cool, but it's me. I'm not cool. So I'm like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, this is so sweet, man. How'd you do this?
I'm like, can I take a picture?
Man.
And they're like, yeah, man, go for it. And they're probably like,
this guy is a loser.
100%, probably.
Yeah.
But I didn't care.
Yeah.
So we go, and they were awesome, man. Taught me. And then I got to watch them practice. and it was cool,
really,
man. It was really.
Very
they let
nice.
me watch everything. It was cool, and it was cool because you watch like how they did things and how everything was around competing and going for it, but like being great teammates. And you're like, man,
no wonder they're good.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I was missing that wherever I was, you know. And so I watched that, and then we go to Samford to learn, and it was awesome, man. That year we went to a regional. We beat Florida State on Friday. That was unreal. That was cool.
And I've heard that story a couple times, and that just the environment of it all and the way the game went is like
unreal. It was crazy.
It's one of the probably top 5 games that you've ever been a part of. I'm sure. Yeah,
it was unreal, man. It was crazy. I mean that region was fun. Yeah,
where that was at Florida State, right?
State. Yeah. So we're the 4 seed playing them. And we're facing, I forget who he was, but I think he's a big leaguer now. I'm terrible with names.
Probably.
I'm really good at numbers. He was number 7, if that helps.
Of course
terrible with names. I know with that. Yeah. But he comes out, and we're not supposed to win. They score first. It's 1-0. And then in the third inning, I remember Coach Dunn was like talking to Brooks Carlson, who he transferred to Auburn and played there. Great player, dude. Great human being. Him and Sonny D.
Sonny D, that's right. Yeah. Sonny D, sure.
But he goes up there and coach tells him, "Hey man, just sit on the changeup, man. You'll hit it out. Like you got it." Like Brooks, he had such a good swing and like laying back the zone, he'd hit it, and he hit it out. And you talk about that place was loud already, and he hit that ball, and all you hear is our dugout losing their mind.
Oh god,
it
makes me so fired up.
Awesome. Yeah, it was unreal. Yeah. I'll never forget. I remember being like, let's go. He listened to Coach.
Yeah.
Like, that's great.
It's like the Kurt Schilling quote where it's like, there's nothing like having 50,000 people from New York shut up. There's nothing like having 10,000 people from Tallahassee shut up.
Man, because, they were singing every walkout song.
I'm sure.
It was like, dude.
Just rubbing it in your face.
Right on top. And they're saying everything you think of. Like it, as a fan should. Like I wasn't like,
no, let it fly. Like, awesome. It's Florida State, of course.
You know? And then crazy, but we ended up beating them 7-6. And they made a huge comeback in the 9th. I think they scored like 2 or 3 runs.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
It was.
Yeah.
It was like
blood pumping.
Hey man, let's get the out. And I remember Cal Raleigh, catcher for the Marlins, was up. He hit the ball, and our center fielder runs in. Connor Burns catches it. I remember him being like, "We get the last out. We're celebrating."
Dude, my hand's so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I bet if the exit velocity, he probably hit it 140 miles an hour. Might be a little. That ball was smoked, and it was this high off the ground, right to the center fielder.
Jeez Louise.
But that was awesome, man. And so that was fun. That was experience, and it was like you saw what it took to win, but you saw it by like the relationships, and that's what I was always like, man, dude. Like they were good at baseball, but I remember him saying, "Hey man, you can always teach someone how to play baseball. But like if you can't get the guys to play for each other and play for what you believe in, you won't win."
Yeah. And I took that. I think that's one thing that we've done a good job of since obviously you've been here. I mean, you came in the COVID year, which was wild within itself, just the time that we were in. But the fact that sure, we had it developed before then with Pack, Brickhouse, Jake, all of those guys did a great job to kind of set the standard, but the year that you got there was it was relatively new. Yeah, Burley left. Zach's group was a freshman. You had Tyler Smith, Cam Coleman, those guys. But that 21 year, and that was my freshman year, so I always want to make it feel like that group of guys that I had we were a part of the kind of like the standard setting. But I mean, dude, it was brought up again. Same thing with the Texas series. Every single interview we've had with players where it's like that group was so distant from each other at the beginning of that year when we were 500 through 30 games, whatever it was.
Yep.
But the way we were able to come together, and I think that's kind of going hand in hand with what you're talking about, where it's like, everybody here is good at baseball. Yeah, okay, whatever. Sure. But can you come together and play for each other, which is really what success is always essentially riding on. Yeah, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't play for each other and do things the right way, it's not going to happen. That's right. That's why baseball's the best.
I love it. Yes, because you've heard all the stories. I wasn't here for Monmouth, but it's burned into my brain, the Monmouth story about them getting beat by him. And I'm just like, man, when you can get, I think the best coaches, and I love it. One, they can get a team of individuals to play as one. They're unmatched, and they don't lose. And that's why you hear all these people, which I don't want to get in transfer portal. I can't talk about that. Geez. But you have the best, like Nick Saban. He can do it and teaches these guys how to, like I'd go hire anybody who played for that guy. They probably have discipline. They probably have self-control. They probably have all these things. And you're like, you know what?
And they do things the right way.
Yeah.
Because it's ingrained into their head from the time they step on campus.
I agree.
It's the same thing here, too. I mean, obviously, Coach Godwin's awesome, but I go back to he is such a good motivator in terms of like when it's time, like he knows exactly what to say every meeting. Sure. Like it's crazy. Like he knows when to push, he knows when to pull. But like I vividly remember the hitters meeting. Were you in the hitters meeting before the weight game? You probably were. You were probably doing some.
I wish I was now.
Crazy stuff. But I can't remember if Trey was either, and I had him on, and I asked him, and I can't remember if he said he was or not, but we always had like 2 or 3 pitchers that were in the hitters meeting before the game, and people that have listened to the show have heard the story, but we're in there, and he's going through, and Coach Godwin and Henry and all those guys run the hitters meeting and stuff, and they're going through the report. We make a great report, as the coaches always do, and take us through it, tendencies, all that good stuff, and we get to the video of like him striking out like 100 Carolina Tar Heels in a row with his slider, all this stuff, like the reporters talking about how good he is, all this stuff, and I'll never forget it. Coach Godwin literally is like, Henry, stop the video, and said some stuff that I can't say on radio to put onto YouTube, but essentially got the point across where it's like, he is not God, he is not, he is no better than you.
Sure,
you are in the same position. He's playing in the same game you are.
That's right.
He is not some out of world figure that nobody can tell. Like we've done damage against guys that are better than him.
Sure,
maybe not this year, but in the past, dude, he is nothing that we can't handle. And it, again, along with some more expletives, but got to the point where I'm like, Coach Godwin's hitting leadoff for us today. Like, there's no doubt about like he was getting so fired up.
I wish I could have been in there.
Like getting down into like his little like power squat where he's like pointing at us, like getting fired up, and I was like, can we play now? And it was 3 hours before the game started, and I'm like, God. But oh my God, he's so good at setting the tone and setting the stage for what a game is supposed to be like, and the energy, and obviously that crowd that day was, and the game happened the way what it was, and we were standing next to each other when we walked it off. I remember that whole inning. But anyway.
Oh, I love it, man.
Gosh.
I wish I could have been in there, because when he starts talking, I'm like,
he just gets you so far. Like he does such a good job of getting you fired up. But so obviously awesome. your time at Samford ends. What was the process of becoming a Pirate like? I'm sure it was, obviously, like I said, it was going into the fall of 2019, so right before COVID, nobody kind of really knew that was going to happen, obviously, but what a weird time to like join a brand new program, like
crazy,
getting thrown right into the fire. And people have heard about that entire year obviously being shortened, but you being a new member of that staff with new players, new guys to be around, not, again, kind of getting thrown, like you said, you were in Alabama, into a new area where you didn't really know much at the time. Like,
we didn't know anybody.
What was that like? You know what I mean?
Sure. It was crazy, man. Well, and so like how it happened was I was looking for a job because I was like, dude, I need to make some money.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. Because you weren't making any at Samford.
Yes. And I was married. We got married in 2018. And so I had another year under my belt at Samford. I'm like, dude, I need a paid job.
Yeah, I need to make money. It's time.
There were some opportunities that came up, and my coach was like, Coach Dunn was like, do not work there. Like
kind of giving you some advice.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And so this job came open, and he was like, oh, man.
We'll see you.
He goes, yeah, if you get that job, you take that job.
He knew.
And so, so I had done my research. So I'm like watching every video Coach Godwin said. I'm like doing my homework. Like, okay, I got to learn Pirate Nation. You know, I'm like sitting there
watching Wheels videos. I'm sure. Yeah.
All of those. I'm like learning it all. Super funny. And so I'm like, okay, when he calls me, I got to be ready. So he calls me. He asked me some good questions, like questions I wasn't expecting. I thought they were going to be like these like coach-led questions. They're not. They're person questions.
Right.
He's like asking me like tough times, and so I give him those answers, and I'm like, man, dude, well, that was different.
Yeah, it's not. It was not what I was expecting. Yeah, exactly.
He's like, wants to know what kind of person I am. He's like, yeah, we're gonna fly you up here. I was like, cool. And so when I fly up here, I remember being blown away because the first thing he had me do was meet players. So like, well, I say that Pete Biscayno, which he gave me the keys to the car, man. He is the man.
The man
laid the foundation for the ops team.
Mm-hmm. Holding it down.
He's a stud. The best. Pete the man.
Yep.
Pistol, I shouldn't say.
Yeah, Pistol Pete.
Pistol
that's right.
Pete, the man.
That's right.
But I'm in a car with him. I land in Jacksonville, so we drive with an hour, and he's giving me the lay of the land, man. Laying it all out.
Yeah,
like,
the abridged version, our version of, hey, here's what it takes.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can handle that. Like, you got no idea. Like, that's easy, you know? And so we're going through that, and I get there, and he's like, yeah, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to meet players. And so the first people I meet, it's like Jake Kuchmaner, And we're like sitting there talking. I meet Nick Barber, and I'm like talking to him. Yeah, right. Yeah. And we just get talking, and of course, I just started talking about everything. I'm like, dude, this place is sick.
Yeah, this is like, look at the lights, look at the walls. Yeah,
and they're like looking at me like, what is wrong with this guy? And me and Jake hit it off because we had the same birthday. I was like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
nice.
July 1st. Man.
There you go.
So me and Jake,
summer baby.
That's it. And so they started talking, and they said, yeah, this other guy just came. He's from Virginia, and I had done my homework, and I was like, nice, man. I appreciate that. And he's like, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and we're transitioning meeting.
I've heard this part, yeah.
And I was like, I went and I was like, well, I'm not getting this job.
Yeah, you're like, all right, chalk it up.
Like,
I'm done.
Virginia.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, his like hitting coaches at Virginia. So I'm like in the bathroom. I'm not using the bathroom. I'm like Googling. I'm like, who's the coach there? I'm like, Coach Mack. Yeah. I was like, yep. I stand no shot.
No. Especially if it was a recommendation from Coach Mack, you're like, yep, okay.
That's what I thought.
Why am I here?
Yeah. That's exactly right. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy the heck out of this. I'm going to be myself because I was super nervous. And then when that happened, it was a blessing.
All the way,
I was just like, all right, cool. So I just enjoyed the tour. I was like, dude, this place is unreal. We're watching the video, and I'm like, this many people come here. This is awesome.
Yeah,
like,
I've never heard of Eastern Carolina.
Like, yeah, right. Yeah. I'm like, this is cool, you know? And so we start meeting and all this stuff, and we go through the whole process, and I meet everybody. I'm like, meet Rebecca, or meet all everybody, right?
Yep.
And so I remember we go back, and Coach Godwin goes, what do you think of this place? I go, honestly, I'm like, do I say this? I was like, this place is big time. Like, I love it. And he does that. He's like,
seriously?
He's like, that's awesome, man. Yeah. So we start talking or whatever. And then he's like, hey, you're going to ride with me to dinner. I'm like, sweet. And so we get in the car, and I'm just like, we're going to Ford and Chef. I couldn't even read the menu.
This part's awesome.
This is cool. And so we get in the car, and he's like, hey, he like looks at me, and he goes, I want you to be the next ops guy here. I was like, it's awesome. I love it. He's like,
no, seriously.
No, like, I want you to be the next
like, here's
ops
the job, yeah.
And I was like,
wait, what?
Keep it cool, man. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
He's like,
it's so classic. Like, okay, I broke character. Here we go. Yeah, that's awesome.
I was like, that is awesome, man. Like, this is going to be awesome. Yeah. He's like, tells me what it pays. And when he said what it paid, I was like, that's more money than I've ever dreamed of.
Yeah, it's like Looney Tunes. Your jaw drops to the floor. Yeah.
I was like, let's go. He's like, well, make sure you talk to your wife. I said, I don't need to talk to my wife.
She'll be all right.
Take it. So
I've already not talked to her twice before this. She'll be fine with the third time.
100%. That's never actually had that said out loud, but it's true. Sorry.
Love you, sir. Yep.
That's right. But no, and then we went to Ford and Shep, and I was like, I couldn't stop smiling. I
bet you were just the happiest guy in the room.
Like, I can't believe this just happened, right? And so we're sitting there, and it's crazy because when I actually DM'd Coach Godwin when I was at Iowa Lakes Junior College.
Like on Instagram or something?
On Twitter.
Oh, jeez.
So I DM'd him about the turkey pack that they do. I said, dude, I love what you do for the people in the community. Like, I was like, coaches need to do that, man. Like, that is awesome. And so I brought that up.
Because he was here when you were at Iowa Lakes, right? He wasn't at Ole Miss? Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Well, yeah, he was. Because even funnier, I used to study the Ole Miss videos.
Like the season?
And try to give them to my coach. I'd be like, man, look at that. They're like timing. Let's do that.
Oh, man.
I loved that. So I was so super nerd with that.
Yeah.
But I told you, I study coaches. To this day, I love watching coaches coach. Like, still, by the way, this is a side story. You don't have to put this on there. I don't know what. But, like, when Schwartz was yelling at the guy from George Mason.
Dude.
I was like, what happened? I need to know.
It's so interesting because I literally think the same way of, like, I notice little stuff like that where I'm like, I want to, like, even on TV, I'm like, I want to know what they're talking about. Like,
yes.
We may never find out.
Sure.
But, like, I mean, it's, for example, like, we've talked about it, but, like, Cam and I, we're so obsessed with watching the season just because, I mean, it was funny to, like, make fun of AK and Colby when we saw them when they were super young.
Yeah,
but, like, we actually found it fascinating just to see how other programs ran, even if it wasn't, like, a full access kind of thing.
Sure.
But it was still cool to watch. And we have that Augie video after they lost in the conference tournament video, like, ingrained to our head. We can quote it word for word. Like, it's stuff like that where it's kind of the same thing where it's like we're studying that stuff because we find it so fascinating about that stuff. And like you were just saying.
I mean, it's awesome, man. Well, that's one thing. Yeah, that was the side story. Sorry about that distraction. Blake moment. Sorry. No, but gosh, what were we saying? I forgot. Sorry.
You had just gotten the job.
Oh, yeah. So I DM'd him, and I was like, dude. And I DM'd coaches all the time. I was just like, man, I want this stuff. And dude, it's amazing. The baseball world, they'll give you everything. Like Darren Finster, he probably didn't remember this. That's how I started outfield. Was I DM'd him, and he was the outfield coach for the Red Sox at the time. Now he's a coach at Miami, I believe. He sent me this whole PowerPoint with everything on it. He's like, hey man, take it. And if you have any questions, ask me. So I would ask him questions through Twitter. He'd answer them all. And I'm like,
God bless people like those.
That's
Seriously.
what I'm saying. Like the baseball community is awesome, man. They will.
It is a fraternity for sure.
There's no doubt.
There's sure. There's like people that don't get along, that if you're associated with them, they won't talk to you. But more often than not, it is one of those things where it's like, oh, you like this kind of stuff, like in terms of learning the game, intricacies, all that good stuff. It's like, yeah, here, come learn.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is very exciting.
I mean, it's unbelievable, man. And so that happened, and I told him about it. And he was like, can you go find that? I was like, yes, I can go find that. So I go back, and he had responded to me. And so we were talking about that. So, I sent that to him. But it was like...
That's so funny.
It's just one of those things. I'd known him since like 2014.
Yeah.
Being at Ole Miss, if not even before that. Because my first time in Omaha ever to watch a baseball game...
Was 14?
Was 2014.
Really?
And it was... So I grew up in Texas, and Texas Tech was there. So I was like, I'm going to go watch that game.
Yes, that makes sense.
And it was Ole Miss, Texas Tech, and Ole Miss beat them like 2-1 or something. It was kind of a sweet
game. It was a good game because I think the next game they played, again, the season aficionado over
there.
I
Absolutely.
think they played TCU the next game, but yeah, that's...
Isn't that crazy?
It's so weird.
But yeah, so my first time ever, Colby was on the field, AK was on the field, Coach Godwin was
Little
on
did
the
we
field.
know. This is the crazy. Gosh.
But yeah, no, but... I'm super thankful for Coach Godwin, man. I could talk about him all day.
Yeah, well, that was going to be one of my next questions, but we can get right into it. What has he at least meant to you? And I mean, I guess like you were saying, like you knew him before he even like acknowledged you or knew who you were back in the day, and it's like seeing at least how he's talked about you. One, even since you've gone on to greener pastures and stuff, but like especially since that car ride where you said, absolutely, let's do it. Yeah. To now, how has your relationship developed, changed, and prospered over the 5+ going on years now that you've really been his right-hand man? And to this day, you still are, whether you like it or not, or whether you know it or not.
No, I will. I'll do that. No doubt. Well, yeah, we still get coffee on Fridays,
That's right.
Which is good. Dude, it's unbelievable. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I told somebody the other day, I said, like, friends to me, there's a lot of people that, you have a lot of friends. And I'm like, no, not really. I have a lot of buddies. But like friends, true friends are like people, like if you got a problem, they make it their problem. Even if it's like, I don't like the way this looks. Yeah. And they're like, you know what? I don't either. Like that's, it's like, okay, that's weird, random, but okay, cool. Thanks for having my back. You know, like that's a friend where a buddy's like, all right, I'm only going to come see you when I need you. Mm-hmm. And like Coach Godwin is a true friend, man. Like even to you players, I've listened to that guy. I've watched him cry. I've watched him stay up late at night. Like I've been with him. We've ate tons of ice cream together over talking about players.
I can only imagine.
So it's one of those things like his heart is for the players, man. Like he cares so much about the players. And sometimes you don't see that obviously, but like, man, we shared a room last year. It was fun.
Oh, I remember.
It was awesome. Yeah. But we were sitting there and we're talking about is the players the whole time. And
it's like, his passion. It's what he cares about.
Coach, let's watch Caitlin Clark. Yeah. I remember it because we were watching Caitlin Clark, and I was like, let's watch Caitlin Clark.
Like, how about we just play the quiet game for 15 minutes and watch the basketball?
Yeah, well, that's what would happen. He'd go quiet, and he'd be like, man, can you believe Danny Beal? Like, or whatever. Yeah. I'm just using you because you're in here. But he would sit there, and I'm like, dude, well, I lost this. We're going to talk about baseball.
And here we go down the rabbit hole again.
Which is totally fine. But it was like one of those things, man. His heart is so big, but it's so big for everything. And people are like, I'm not, whatever they call it, kiss and tell or everything. But dude, he cares so much about this place. And I mean, he's from here. He's from Snow Hill.
I think that's why he's still here.
That's right, man. His passion for ECU is just unmatched. And I mean, money to everybody else, it's like whatever. But he's like, I feel like he'd give every dollar he had to. If ECU could do whatever they needed to do, he would give it to it
in a heartbeat.
And he's already kind of done that.
Yeah,
so maybe not all of his money, but some of it.
Close,
you know. Yeah. But it's one of those things like when you see that as like another coach or like a player. I say that I've never played for him, but I'd be like,
it's admirable.
Dang man, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. You just gave all that for me.
Yeah, for this,
just to fly home
for Greenville?
And be back early. That's crazy.
It's nice.
And so those are like perspectives that I see, but I have those conversations with them. And so I like know these things coming up. So it's cool. But I remember my first year, man, oh
boy.
Oh yeah. Well, that's part you're talking about, like kind of the evolution.
Yeah.
Of
Well,
it,
if you want to tell the whole story, the bad parts need to be told too.
No. Well, and it is bad, but it's actually the best. It's what made
what made your guys' relationship what it is today.
Exactly. And I talk about it like biblical, and I'm not saying like it's an exact story, but you got to go through the valley to get to the mountaintop, right? And so it's like one of those things. When I came in, I was super bubbly, like fired up, but I didn't know, like I had a hard time having conflict with people. And I say that like healthy conflict. And so he taught me that. He showed me, he's like, hey, no, he's responsible for it. Go tell him he's responsible. And I'd be like, hey, Danny, I really need you to get this done.
Yeah, I know.
Like I really need
because you were always just fix it, Felix. Like you were just like,
that's right.
Something's wrong. Who did it? Okay, I'll take care of it.
That's right. Yeah. And it was like, no, man, give him accountability. It's going to help him. And so he was right, man. I was hindering you guys, and which was crazy. But it's funny, man. So I remember I tell this story, and I've told Cliff this, so it's funny. But I remember my first year, and I say this, man, like he got after me. Like I was like a player, man. He was coaching me up, but I didn't realize he was coaching me up. There was times, and this is why Connor Norby's got a huge place in my heart. I love Connor. He sent me this text because there was one day, Coach was he kind of got after me.
Just letting it fly.
Like, hey, man, you need to be better, basically. Yeah. And I was sitting there like, this guy hates me.
I am in the wrong. I picked. That's right. I don't mean to be putting words in your mouth, but I can at least semi-guarantee that there were times that fall where you're like, did I make the right decision?
Oh, yeah. 100%. I thought that all the time.
I am miserable right now.
I came home and I'd be like, Sarah, I think the guy legitimately, he might hate me.
Dislikes
I don't
me.
know.
Like genuinely hates me.
Like, I think when he sees me, he's like...
He gets pissed.
Yeah. This is a problem.
Yeah.
But it was so good now, like now that I'm older, right? It's like, he was actually molding me just like our freshmen. We go through the mental game.
Just breaking you down and build you back up.
That's exactly what he did. And he always did it, but I always hung on the hard parts.
Mm-hmm.
But he would always
it's hard
coach
not
me
to.
up, right?
Especially as a freshman compared to new first year guy. It's hard not to harp on the, oh man, like you take the hard stuff way harder than you appreciate the good stuff. You know
that's
what I mean?
Right. 100%, right? 100%. And that's the part, like I don't want people to think Coach Godwin's this whatever, because he's actually incredible. Like he is, you got to get to know him. Mm-hmm. It's a relationship, man. And he was trying to get me to play catch up to speed to what the Pirate, because go for it, man. He had all these new staff. Yeah. I pretty much I'm his right hand man.
It's kind of like this year where it's all. I mean, he's a year older now, obviously, but it's same thing where it's all brand new. Because I mean, Dietz had just came on.
Yep.
AK just came on.
Yep.
Same thing, and it's like the only guy that he had around was Coach Palumbo. And it's like
Womack. Yeah.
And it's like it's pretty important staff members that are brand new, and it's like
geez, dude. Well, we were all messing up too, and so it'd be like, oh man, and then I'd come in, hey, just how does this look? I feel good about it. He's like, you feel good?
So you feel good?
Yeah.
Oh god, he's like, I remember that.
I want it to be great, but it made ECU baseball run, and it's like why he's so good at what he does, and that's why they win and why they do things, because it's like the standard is the standard. It don't matter if you're a coach. It don't matter if you're a player. Like the standard is standard, and he wants you to meet that standard.
Right.
And it's like, it took me a year to understand that. And then Connor, like going back to Connor, I still have the text saved, but he like heard it, and he sent me this text, and I read it, and it was like,
it's probably hard not to get emotional.
Dude, I would like Connor. I love him to death. Like when he made the major leagues, I was like, Coach, I gotta go. Like I want to be there.
Right.
I want to be. Like I was mad I didn't go to Toronto, but it was like Coach is like, we'll do that, and I'm like, let's go. But which I don't even know if Coach knows that, but it was one of those things. He sent me this message, and it got me through the entire year, because I had way more hard days, because I was like at the back end of the fall.
Yeah.
And every time I had a hard day, I'd go
coffin. Could have been, but that text, like you said, got you through it.
It did, man. I'd have a bad day, and I'd go back and read it, and I was like, yes, you're right. Like I'm getting better, because Connor went through it his freshman year. You've heard those stories, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it was one of those things, man. When you finally, I call it a light bulb moment. The light bulb screwed in. I'm like, this is why it's important to him. you're like, man, we need to do this. Like, Blake, you got to be better. And then, so I met with Brian Kane for a little bit, which he's also, I love Brian Kane, which obviously I've been doing that stuff, but he's helped me like slow down, process, have a plan for things. You know, it's like, wow, that makes life a lot easier instead of being a squirrel. Yeah, exactly. So it makes it a lot better. So super thankful for that. But I don't have any of those things without Coach Godwin. So that's the part. So that first year goes by and COVID hits or whatever. And so the cool thing, man, we like worked out during COVID together. And like, it was like me, Coach Godwin, Coach Palumbo, AK, we're all in there working out, just like in the gym. I called it the jailhouse with the pitching indoor.
Jeez.
So
I remember that because, believe it or not, the whiteboard in there is stained because you guys didn't erase it. It is stained from you guys writing down the workouts in there. 100%. And I will, for the rest of my life, every single time I go in there, I will see 3 sets of 15 push-ups, 3 sets of like blah, 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 back squats, kettlebell get-ups. And I'm like, it's stained because of the fact that you guys did that for 1,000 days in a row, it felt like.
It did. With COVID, it did feel like that.
Yeah.
Man, that was crazy, but it was so good for our staff, man. We got together, we got connected when other people were separated in the world. You know, like Dietz, loved Dietz, but he stayed at home. Which I don't blame
shocker.
him.
Go figure,
I don't blame him.
He's like, I don't need to be around you guys.
That's right, 100%. We FaceTime, we'd Zoom every now and then, but I guess But it was cool, man. Like we got close, and he would always challenge me. And I was like, dude, this guy.
Get off my back, brother. Like, dude, go away.
And so at the end of the year, it's like COVID started to come out. We started the summer stuff, and we have to have these like evals. And I'm like, dude. But he was just challenging me to make me better. And I loved it, dude. Now that I look back, I'm like, man, I wish I would have been more mature.
Yeah,
like,
no, for sure.
You know,
like, you don't know any better at the time.
No, because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so we're doing that, and we have the evaluation. And I told my wife, we lived in an apartment, and we had just bought like a house. And I was like, dude, we can't move out. Like, I can't believe we did this.
This is a great story.
I'm like, we're getting fired. We're getting this house in June. Like,
I'm cooked. See ya.
Like, we're not. This is stupid. Yeah. Like, just don't even unpack. We're gonna get fired. This guy just hates me. And I go in, and I remember I sit down. And the evaluation's out of 15 points, and I'm like, I hand him my sheet, like what I need to get better on. So and it's a novel.
Yeah.
It's like
I stink,
everything.
I suck at everything. I'm so sorry. I don't know why you hired me.
Pretty much, yeah. It was a novel of that. And he goes, here's your stuff. And he like gives it to me, and we break down the whole year. And it was like 15 out of 15. How much growth I've had. How much this is that. How much I've helped the team. And I was like,
seriously?
What?
All right, where's the actual sheet? Yeah.
I was like blown away, and it was so funny because I was just like, hold on a second. And he goes, is everything all right? I go, this just went way different than I thought.
I just told my wife we need to get a plane ticket.
Oh, dude, I'm like tearing up thinking about it because I just remember being like so terrified. Sure. I was like, dude, I've failed. My first year at like a legit, like Samford was a good place, but I was like, dude, this is like, you can go to Omaha here. Which you could there, but it's a longer road.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I failed, you know? Like, that's all I could think of the whole time I was in there. And I was like, dude, what? He just went the complete opposite, right? And so...
He loves me.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
And it was awesome, man, because we had a heart-to-heart, man, and it was like, man, dude, I can't believe you feel that way. Like,
it's so
don't ever feel that way.
I bet it was so eye-opening.
But, like, you didn't know that because you never asked me. And I'm like... I hear you say it to the players a lot. He goes, yeah, because they're afraid to come in here. I was like, I kind of am.
And now I know why. Yeah,
but now I get it. Yeah. And so, but that opened the door to me going in there. Hey, I got this problem. I got this. And then we would talk it out. And then it turned into our relationship just blossomed right there. You know, like it would be, hey, this is going on in my life. This is going on. This is going on. Hey, I heard somebody say this. What do you think about this? And it turned into like
way more of a dialogue, I can imagine.
Absolutely. So we just started talking. I'd be like, hey, how you doing? He'd be like, good. I'm like, no. Like, how are you actually doing?
Yeah, exactly.
And he'd be like,
all right, fine.
I'm fine. What do you want? And I'm like, no, seriously, how you doing? And so,
what did you do this morning?
Kind of opened him up, you know. And so it's kind of cool, man. I really got to know
shell a little bit because
not
many people were able to do what you do. Because I think over time, he has certainly been able to. There's been cracks in the hard shell and the hard armor that he used to wear of him being so closed off. Him, as he's well documented, he not being very vulnerable at all with any of us or you, or even at times himself, like being like kind of denying himself. But to see even just 2020 to now, his journey, and I think you've been a and whether you want to admit it or not, or whatever it is, you have been a significant part in him changing and becoming a follower and being a better person, better coach, better human being, as he will admit himself, which is just, it's special. And knowing that someone, and again, not to kiss tail like you said, but to see someone that is as good as you are change his life and be such a big part of it, it's admirable for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't take credit for it, as you know that, but
yeah, you never will.
It is God, like, wholeheartedly. He just would give you moments. You just start talking to him about it, and he's like, say this. And you're like, okay. So you just say it, and then it kind of leaned into him, and then it led into us having Bible study and all these things. But what happened was, we just built a relationship, man. We actually had real conversations about real things, and it just blossomed. Like, it was like, man, like, you're a person. It's okay to feel this way. And then, like, it was the same with me. I was like, I'm a person. Like, I can tell him when I'm having having a problem.
You shouldn't have to, like, unvalidate your
own.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because we put it up there, and we don't even mean to do it as people. But people just do that. And it's nothing against Coach Godwin, it's nothing against me. It's just what you do, because it's like, oh, he's the boss. Like, I can't tell him my problems.
Yeah, exactly.
When really, he's the guy who can fix all your problems.
Yeah, seriously.
So you should tell him your problems.
No kidding.
So it's one of those things, like, you just build this relationship, and then you start to find out about things, and you're like, oh, hey, how'd this go? Like, dude, you're super nervous about that. Dude, like, how'd it go? And he's like, man, dude, I was nervous about it. This went all da-da-da. And you, like, find out what makes him go. And then you're like, man, have you ever thought about this? And he's like, no, man, I haven't thought about that. Have you ever thought about this? And you're like, no, I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
And so, but we're just, like, bouncing each other off. And then it turned into, like, even during COVID, we went and got, like, First Watch. We got First Watch every single day. I felt like we gave back to the local community.
You kept the lights on in that place, yeah.
So it was cool, but, like, I just remember, like, little things like that, because, dude, his heart's huge, man. But sure, he looks brash on the outside maybe to some people, but, like, to me, I tell people, like, he's a teddy bear, man. Yeah. And he loves so much. He loves. Some days it's tough love, but it is love, man.
It's love nonetheless.
But it's real love, man.
For
like,
sure.
He genuinely loves things, which is cool.
No doubt. I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's been so special to see him change, and he'll be on here in a couple episodes in the next couple weeks, next couple months. But no, it's special to see his transformation, and like I said, you've been a big part of it. But in the midst of all of the years that you were here, still here, obviously, but especially as being Adobo, you had a baby boy.
Yeah.
Father of one.
Big G.
And one on the way.
One on the way.
In March.
Yep. March 1st. Another boy.
Yep. But Big G, Big Graham, what has that been like? Obviously, becoming a father in general is a huge step in a man's life to begin with, but doing it while doing the job that you did at such a high level and held to such a high standard and stuff, and obviously Sarah being here is tremendous.
Sure.
And raising Graham, he's the best baby ever. He's just the man. Like one of the best kids I've ever met. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Always smiling, always in a good mood, like fist bumps, high fives all over the place. But specifically, like, raising a kid the way you did, awesome. But becoming a father in a time that you were in, at the age you were at, and at the standard you were held at your job, it was such on a broad scale, projected everywhere. What was that like?
Dude, there's nothing like being a dad, I swear.
Yeah.
It is, God's love. You see it so different. It is so cool, actually. But, dude, it's awesome. But my wife, she deserves all the credit, because, like, I go back to when we got married, like, her dad was talking about, if there's anything you know about Blake and Sarah, they're always smiling. And I'm like,
it's true.
When G's smiling, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's me. Yep. Yeah, that's me and Sarah. Yep.
So it's pretty cool, man. But no, she did it all, man. Like, obviously we traveled a lot, and we were home whenever we could be home, but we worked, and she knows how much I love coaching, and to this day, like, I still love it, you know. Mm-hmm. But she was there. She would do things. She would FaceTime. She did everything she needed to do. Like, she taught him everything, and obviously did everything with him. So huge tribute to her, obviously. But man, it was good, man. It was fun because, like, he loves baseball. Like, at our house right now, he's at the age where he's supposed to like cartoon. He cannot. You turn on something and he won't watch it. But if you turn on baseball, he is dialed in. Like, we watch awesome. Gavin Williams, we watch Connor Norrie, we watch anybody, Alec Burleson, whoever's playing, we watch him. And he'll like if they hit a ball, he'll go run, and then he'll say, "I want to hit." And he'll go grab his bat and try to hit. That's just what he does.
You need to have, if you don't already, you need to have a tee in the living room. Just get a net up and just
not in the living room. He might break something, but in the backyard for sure.
Yeah, okay.
I'll show you some video. He kind of rakes.
No, he does seriously, and he's an athlete. So he was. You were obviously Coach Prime, but he was Bam Bam from the Flintstones for Halloween, and that picture of him in that his little costume and him smiling ear to ear is it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, yeah, he was Bam. He's got a little friend Millie. She calls him Bam Bam.
That's awesome.
The G is kind of hard to say.
Yeah, Gwam.
So she calls him Bam Bam. We thought it was perfect. But yeah, that was fun. But yeah, Coach Prime, man. I love that.
Special. He's a good dude. Good. Yeah. No, the outfit too. They weren't like Coach like headphones. They were like airplane conductor headphones. Sure. But they still looked the part.
Well, I appreciate it.
With the glasses, the watch, it looked great.
It was great, man. Yeah. Thanks, Kendall. Gave me those little. They were pilot ones.
Yeah, and I was about to say they looked huge.
Man, I put them on. I could not hear nothing.
I bet. Well, you had to probably walk around like that.
I did.
Bit. Yeah, I was about to say, but no, it's awesome that you've been able to raise Graham like you have, and he's obviously a tremendous kid, and it's only going to go up from here. And as he gets older, he's going to get loved on more and more by the. I mean, he grew up.
Keep praying for him.
With us. We always will. We always will. Appreciate that. But as we mentioned earlier, you have a very unique perspective on a lot of things. We talk about the Jocko stuff. We talk about the mental game stuff with Brian Kane, a bunch of other stuff. But you've always been very glass half full in everything that you do, whether it's life, baseball, your job, your fatherhood, whatever it is. But I guess what's the thought process behind essentially just it sounds like a loaded question, but essentially explain like the thought process of what makes you so positive all the time? Like what is and later we'll get into your faith and all that stuff, but at least what is the thought process behind being so positive all the time, being so glass half full? Every situation is, hey, good. Let's just see what happens. Like it was something that I had never experienced when I first met you, because I'm like, why is this guy always so happy? Why is he always so positive? Like this is something that's bad that's happening, and he's like flipping it on me, being like, no, this is good. I'm like, how? But it's just like it's so cool to see that perspective. But what is being the ringleader of it like?
Well, it's it comes from a little bit of trauma, to be honest with you, which I've only told a few people this, and I ain't trying to like go crazy.
No.
But like when I was a kid, there was a lot of hate from like my dad. Like he verbally told us this and that. And my mom was awesome. She'd be like, hey, we don't talk to people like that. Hey, we don't do that. And there's one time I just stood up to the dude, and I was like, it's my man time, Mm-hmm. And I lost that fight. And it was like one of those, like,
as most kids do to their fathers. Yeah,
that's right. 100%. And just things were happening. And really it's not his fault now that I'm older and know, but like he was kind of jacked up, man. He had a ton of concussions we sent in his brain. He had like schizophrenia. He had all kinds of problems with his brain. So he wasn't who he was when he was older, or when I was older. But he would just say things that were just mean, man.
Plain old, man.
And I remember the moment, like he said something to me, and I won't dive crazy into it, but I was just like, I will never let anybody ever feel that way, ever. It was like I drew a line in the sand. I was
one of those things that you remember for the rest of your life,
forever. Yeah. And that's why I'm doing the things that I like to do. Is like I want people to feel that way. I want people to know like it's really not that bad. Mm-hmm. Like we create this story in our head that it's the world's falling apart. Yeah. Well, it's like, nope, you're gonna wake up tomorrow and
sun's gonna rise.
Like, yeah, it's like I went to breakfast today and I said, yeah, today's day 325 of the year. I think 25. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, I'm live. But it's like this is the 325th opportunity to do something great this year. So like,
and that's what I'm saying. This is exactly why I asked the question. It's like it's stuff like that where I'm like, how do you even think to have a mindset like that constantly when stuff in the world's good, bad, and different, but it's like you always have a positive spin on things, and it's like I was saying earlier, it's very cool to see.
Well, I appreciate that because I take pride in it. I really do, because it's like I mean, I give a lot of tribute to Jesus, man. I mean, I've had so many crazy experiences, and when people hear him, they're like, wait, what? But like God's always got me through them. Like he's never let me down. He's never done that, and he never will. And it's like, just to know, like, this guy will do anything for you. And I'm like, I just trust him. And anything that happens, like, I'm one of those people, I don't, like, go out and, like, try to, like, oh, I'm going to go out and move him out and throw a Bible at somebody. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I just think, hey, man, I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
He gives us those rules, and I abide by them. And when he tells me to do something, I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to live it out. And so that's what I'm going to do. And so that I based it a lot off him. But also, there was actually this movie. Have you ever seen Hacksaw Ridge? Great movie.
Yes. Great movie.
So there's a quote in that movie. I don't remember what year that came out, but I watched it and I was like, that is how I'm going to define it.
Right.
Like, it's beautiful. He's in the courtroom and he's like, son, what is wrong with you? Like, you want to go run and not carry a gun out there? And he's like, yeah. He's like, why? And he says, in a world that's so broken, I don't see what's wrong with trying to put a little bit of it back together. And I was like, that is beautiful.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Right? I was like, that is an amazing thought process. And I was like, that is how I'm trying to live. And so it's just one of those things that just hit me. And I was like,
it's so unique.
Trying to figure out how to say it. And I was like, that's how I'm trying to say it. I want people to just know that life is good and this is great.
That's right.
And we make that decision. Not anybody else, not our past, like not my dad. Like I tell people, he could say whatever he wants to me, but it's my decision, not his, to make the most of my life. And so it's like one of those things. Hey man, why not show the world that they can do it themselves? Like, just when something bad happens, show them the good that actually happened out of it. And so,
it's sad. Like as I said, you said it perfectly. But it is one of the more unique thought processes and mindsets that anybody will ever come across with, and that's why you're so coveted by everybody that you've ever worked with. That's why you're doing such a good job at Grover, is because you have that mindset of it doesn't matter what happened or what it takes, it's going to get done, and it's going to be done at a high level, and it's going to be very positive and all that stuff. But you also mentioned just a second ago your faith and obviously how your walk with him as well. But you always used to tell us, and we've had many conversations about prayer and we've had Bible studies and all this stuff, but you always used to tell us about prayer, about wanting to work in a good program. You when you were little, you wanted to be an actual pirate.
Man, I love this story. I love this story.
Praying to have good people around you. But like you said, the pirate story is actually very funny because you actually ended up being a pirate. But
I know.
When you were little, you actually wanted to be
a pirate.
On a ship, like shooting cannons, stealing gold and stuff.
That's right.
But I think along the lines, it's just funny what it's like to have seen all of these things in your life come to fruition. You've told your story, you've told your testimony on the show of all of this stuff, but like you've started a family here. You've created lifelong relationships that you'll keep for the rest of your life here. You've won games here, but I guess essentially how cool has it been to see God work in your entire life, and from when you were little with your father, from when you grew up to play baseball, you meeting Sarah in that classroom, you picking up baseball in Iowa, you moving to Samford without telling Sarah, you moving to Greenville without telling Sarah, doing all this stuff on a whim, just seeing what happens. How cool has it been to, one, settle down here, but like see God answer all of the prayers and all of the thoughts and all of the doubts that you've probably had in your life. How cool has it been to see them answered in a place like this, where you mentioned the fans before, like in a place where it is so eternally loved and appreciated. And as after the past year with, I mentioned on the show, with the Bible verses on our wrist with Team Parker and discipline equals freedom, all this stuff, the FCA stuff, homers that help, like, and what is becoming a faith-based community, like it must be pretty cool to see how God has worked through your life to where you are now.
Man, first of all, I'm going to answer this question funny, like my perspective of it, right? But anything God does is awesome. Like I always tell people, go read the Bible. It is unbelievable. It's like a movie. It's so cool.
Good book.
It's a really good book. Yeah. And like, don't read it like, oh, he like cast fire down from heaven. No, like he cast fire from heaven, dude. Like he ain't talking about like a little lightning bolt to heaven. I'm talking about like God's fire. Like that's electric. That is awesome.
That's right.
So I think anything he does is cool, but it's one of those things, man. I tell people, man, I'm a simple-minded black and white person. Like when I read that, it's like, you ask, you'll receive. If it's in his will, he'll do it. And so why not ask? The worst he's going to tell you is you can't have it or no, And so like my dad had always said that, hey, you always go up to the hot girl and ask her out, because the worst thing she says no, and you'll find a different one. That's what he always said.
He's got a point.
He's got a great point, right? And so I was like, it's the same thing with everything in life. Like just go for it, but just ask for him, And so it's like asking, you'll receive. And it's funny, like people just overcomplicate the Bible. In my mind, I'm not this perfect whatever, Bible person. I always give things like that, but it's like, I just believe in what it says, and I try not to twist what it says, but it's like, hey, ask and you'll receive. So it's like funny, but going back, like I grew up in the church, like did all that kind of stuff. Didn't really believe till I was about 20. That's when I got baptized. I was 20 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yep, but I did. I was the guy in church that I sat there and was worried about football and who's playing, what are we going to eat.
What's the score? Yeah.
Trying not to talk, and then my mom would flick me in the forehead if I'd said something.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. So I wasn't really intentional until I was about 20. But it's kind of funny, man. But it's just funny because the pirate story is cool, and I was kind of share that for people who don't know it real quick. But
yeah,
basically, I was a pirate for Halloween for like 6 years in a row because I love them. I used to study them, every book I got. So I grew up. We didn't really have much money, and so our birthday present was always the movie. You went to a movie with mom. It was like that was
the highlight of the year.
It was awesome, right? And so, but it just so happened Pirates of the Caribbean always came out when I was there, and I was like, that's the one. Yep. Let's go.
Jack Sparrow. Let's go.
And there was one, it didn't come out till like December. And I was like, I don't want my birthday movie till December. I know I'm born in July. I'm waiting till December. I'm going to watch that. It's going to be awesome. Yep. And to this day, I love Jack Sparrow. I think he's the man. He's got great one-liners, by the way.
Well, if you watch the movies, it's hard not to love, dude. Johnny Depp does a great job.
He's actually a little poetic, man. Like if you really listen to words he said, like he has one quote. He's like, the problem is not the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem. And I'm like, dang, that solves a lot of problems, right? Yeah. Pirates being pirates, baby.
That's right.
No, but I always did that. And then it's funny, man. When I was 15, I wrote a paper in high school, and it was about being a pirate. And I said, I'm going to play Major League Baseball.
It all comes
I'm going to sail away. And I'm going to be a pirate. And the teacher gave it to my mom and was like, hey,
he needs to get a
grip. Might need help.
He needs to get a grip, yeah.
And so my mom was telling me, like, is that true? I'm like, yeah, it's going to happen.
Heck yeah.
And me not knowing how good I was at baseball, I thought I was the best, right?
Right.
It was like, yeah, I'm going to be a pirate. I'm going to buy a boat. I'm going to sail away. Not going to do that, by the way, anymore.
Hey, it's still holding out hope.
But it's funny because those things happen, and I was like, man, I had so many prayers about, God, I just really want to play at the highest level. Like, I would love to go do these things. I'd love to go to Omaha. I'd love to do all these things, right? And it's funny because he gives you answers, man. He gives you things like, moved out here, and my mom, I got this ship at my house now, but it was on my desk, and she said, hey, it's funny, just remember God always answers your prayers, whether you're 6 or you're 46 or whatever it was. And she said, you got your answer, you sailed away, and you're a pirate. And I was like,
that'll bring a tear to your eye.
Wow.
Yeah, that's special stuff.
I was like, it's funny because I remember being like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I was like, I knew you had a plan.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. But like, it's one of those things, like I prayed for that. I did. And it's funny because my wife, we talked about these stories, but when her last name was Raymond. And when she would get called on at school, she hated that she was called last because her name's at the back of the alphabet, right? She's like, I want to marry someone that's named who's in the first third of the alphabet, so I can be at the front when they called my name. And like, these are the little kid prayers. She's like, I want to live in North Carolina because she thought
that's where the Pirates
Pirate Nation, but she liked the Tar Heel blue. She didn't like Tar Heels. She just likes the color. But she loved that. So she thought North Carolina would be cool. And God answered that prayer. And it's crazy, but like those
so
things.
Full circle, dude.
Right. But it's like, he will answer those prayers that you actually, if you intentionally talk to him, he answers them. And so that's, it's just true, man. That's what he did to us, and we've just been super thankful and grateful. And darn, man, you go through seasons. Everybody does, but it's like I always say, what do you sing to, man? You sing to your training. You hear that all the time, but I sing to my training with him because I know the end of the story. I've read the Bible. The end of the story, I know the end. I'm going to stick on that good side. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But it is, man. He's always been so good. There's so many
instances where you could probably point where it's like, right there, and
that's
it's like it's been so special to obviously everybody, the entire team, grow in their own faith just through being in the program, and Coach Godwin being such a steward of it all, trying to obviously not forcing it on us, but just offering the opportunity with sports works that we've done, obviously with Randy Cole and his family, and Jamin and Webb, of course, and we have a small group with Todd Howell, who does a phenomenal job as well, and it's crazy because we had Brian Dilday on last week talking about how Bubba, his son Bryson, does a Bible study now with this. And
that's
it's like
awesome.
it's like
that's fires me up.
It's like that's so cool, dude. Like it's like hearing stories like that are like it. And it was funny because Bryson was sitting in the room when I was doing the interview, and I'm like, it's weird how in the moment you're like, all right, I have kids that are trying to throw from a weird arm angle like me. I have kids that are trying to bat flip like Moreland used to do. I'm trying to have guys that used to yell at the dugout like Starwood or whatever else. But it's like
awesome.
Yeah, they're all trying to copy us on the field. But like when we start doing stuff in the community, like people want to get in the Word because of we're wearing Bible verses. We have Bible verses on the back of the wind shirts. Like all this stuff where it's like we're all Christians.
It's amazing when you're obedient to God, what God will do. It's one of those things like it's not what can you do for God, but it's how can your relationship with God grow, and then God, I mean, technically God doesn't really need us. He wants us, right? And so if you're obedient to him and you go out and do it and you stay attached to the vine, the fruit will come just because you're attached to the vine.
It's like, what are you tethered to?
That's right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Exactly. So it's cool. Like you saying that, it's really cool because it's one of those things like God knows what he's doing. He knows this town loves baseball. Mm-hmm. So what are they going to do? They're going to watch baseball. So you know what? I see a couple guys to be obedient and then, hey man, watch what I'm going to do. That's so what's cool. He fires me up.
Yeah. It's
God
special.
is so cool.
But no, you're hit the nail on the head with everything that you said. But last couple questions before we get you out of here. You mentioned it earlier. Favorite Pirate baseball moment?
Oh,
one that comes to your head, whether it's a story, whether it's a specific play, pitch, environment. You can name all 5 if you want. It's up to you. But favorite 2 to 3, 1 to 2, whatever it is that comes straight to your mind.
Man, my first one is actually not a baseball thing.
Well, that was going to be my next question too. Is favorite non-baseball moment?
Oh, okay.
So save that one.
Well, I guess it kind of is baseball because it's with baseball players. So I don't. But like on the field, you're talking about
on the field.
Okay,
yeah.
So I'm gonna answer the off the field because it's the first one.
Off the field first, yes. Okay.
Like the on the field stuff is cool. Don't get me wrong. Like that stuff's
it's the moment behind the scenes, but that's what people want to hear too. Is the stories that people haven't heard. So this is
right.
I don't know what you're about to say, but I'm excited.
Like, I guess I'll start with on the field. On the field, it's probably everybody says it, but the Super Regional
you can't go
Texas
wrong.
was unbelievable.
You can't go wrong. Dude.
Like I'll never forget because I was like a little kid. I'm like, full circle. I'm a Pirate. I'm from Texas. We're playing Texas.
Or the Longhorns.
Everybody's putting horns down. Yeah. I'm like, this is electric. And then we beat them. And it was like, welcome to North Carolina. Like it was awesome, you know. But my favorite baseball memories are not like on the field stuff.
Right.
Like it's like the team room is my favorite room.
Oh, it's the best.
I love that room. I like when I used to give tours, I talk in there the most, but it's like these are my moments because I think a great coach doesn't actually see the fruits of his labor until way later. And so like 5 years from now, I'll see it with you and like from everybody else. It's like, that's a good coach. Something that lasts and stands forever. Right. Like something you get taught. And so I call it the light bulb moment or the aha moment, but we have the most team meetings in the country, probably.
I don't even think it's close.
But it's because coach literally cares so much. Mm-hmm. But I'm sitting there running the meetings, you know, and I'm like helping him, making them, and I'm like, ooh, let's put this in there. It'd be great. You know, let me talk. I'll do this. Yeah. And he's like, you're not talking. You'll talk too much, you know.
Yeah.
So,
whatever.
But no, I'm just kidding. But there's so many moments you see kids, like I said, draw a line in the sand. They never go back on something. But you watch them actually do that in their minds. Mm-hmm. They hear something in that team room. I just watch kids look at us and they're like, wow, that makes a lot of sense.
Like the light bulb goes off.
Yeah. It's like, man. And then they come up and ask you, so if I do this, this will happen? It's like,
yeah, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
it sounds crazy, but it's pretty simple.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And so you sit there and you're like, man, and then you watch them just develop and you watch them get tougher. You watch them get better. But it's not just on the baseball stuff. I love baseball. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great game. There's so much to it. I don't want to take anything away from that. But like I said, good teams are teams that come together as one and play for each other. They can have the hard conversations. Like playing the actual game of baseball, it's like you can teach anybody to do that. You can't teach people to hold each other accountable in the dugout and get them to do what we're trying to do.
That's right.
And then you look somebody in the eye that's doing their best as best they can, but getting their mind back into the present moment instead of being on themselves. And like kids recognizing each other. Yeah, you like watch these friendships develop of like, it's just such a beautiful thing. Like you watch, like Dixon's from Greenville, and he's got friends who are from who knows where across the country. And like you guys move here and you're like, whoa, and now you're friends with some kid from California and Florida. And like you and Starling, it's like, man, who would have thought y'all are friends? And it's
crazy.
Like,
best friends.
Nobody would have told you that, right?
Yeah.
And like some kid from Amarillo is going to come. He's going to have big ears and be a goofball with y'all, and you're going to love him. It's like,
and here we are.
Yeah,
he's going to come on one of the shows.
Some kid I'm 7 or 8 years older than, and he's going to have an impact, and he's going to make me better. Mm-hmm. And you're like, a little kid named Lane from Lincolnton, North Carolina is going to change your life. And you're like, no way.
Yeah. It's like, who? Lane, what's his last name?
Yeah.
Hoover.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But you have these moments of that. Like that's, and I'm in ops, right? And so, yes, I coached and I helped out and I did those things, but you schedule these things and you sit there and you watch and you set stuff up and you watch the guys just grow together. Like that's my favorite thing to watch. And like, so it's like, I can go on days about it, but I would say my favorite coaches are the coaches that do that. The coaches that win, I think, do that. The coaches who are focused on winning, they don't do that. Like you hear teams that have those kids and they're just a pawn in their chess game.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't go back to those places. Mm-hmm. They go back to the places where they had fun and they talk about their friends and they're like, that you get called and they're like, yeah, dude, I'm getting married. Who's your best man? Oh, let me guess, your best friend from college. Yep, that's right. It's like, wow, you guys only knew each other for 4 years.
It's the same thing with same thing with Pack's wedding. Pack's weddings soon, and it's the same thing. It's like I was like, who's on your groomsmen? It was like Jake, Volv, Smitty, like all these guys, and I'm like, boy, where'd you meet them? You know what I mean? So it's like it's crazy how
isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
some guy from Manassas, Virginia, and then guy who went to D.H. Conley right here. He's gonna be in your wedding.
It's unbelievable.
And you're gonna like go up there in one of the biggest moments of your life, and you're gonna like
have them beside you. There. Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's awesome. Like
so
that's
special.
The stuff that I like because that's what life's about. That's what baseball's about. We're all just trying to get better. It's like I say baseball. That's what coaching is about. Is watching people and bringing them up to be the best and getting them to believe in themselves more than they believe in themselves.
That's right.
And letting them see what they can do. So those are those moments. I mean, there's tons of conversations you can talk about too, but like I love dugout talk, just hanging out in dugout, talking after practice about things. You're like, man, those
just shooting
so fun.
It's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Just dudes being guys. You know? I love it.
Guys being dudes being guys.
That's right. It.
Well, dude, thanks for coming on. This was I thoroughly enjoyed this talk. It was my obviously favorite people, but favorite episodes I've ever done just because of the stuff we talked about, and getting to hear from you is always special. So thanks for coming on.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me. I was nervous. I was like, man, I mean, I'm going to talk about Jesus, but like, he's the way. Let's talk about it.
Well, it's like
talk about all the good things.
It's like it's the old adage of like, all right, if you had to tell me one thing to do in front of a bunch of people, what would it be?
Oh,
I
would talk about God. 1,000%.
Well,
I say that. I talk about Jesus because the only way to God is through Jesus. So I'd say let's
talk
about Jesus first.
So I'd be nervous.
Yeah,
same thing. If you had to pick one thing to do in front of a bunch of people, what would it be? Oh, the thing that I'm good at. That's what I'm saying.
Fair.
That's all it is.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks for coming on, Blake. Love you, man.
I appreciate it. Love you too. Appreciate you.
Yeah. This episode is also brought to you by Taylor's Forklift in Greenville, North Carolina. Your one-stop shop for everything forklifts. They offer new and used forklifts, floor scrubbers, scissor lifts, telehandlers, all-terrain lifts, and much more. With a full-service parts and rental department, they offer on-site service and repairs as well as rentals. With over 100 lifts in stock, they are sure to have a lift that fits your needs. Free delivery and warranty on every sale as well. Call, click, or stop by today. Go Pirates! You can visit them at 252-215-5438 or at taylorsforkliftnc.com. Taylor's Forklifts, great people. Obviously being great friends to me, great friends to the show as well. Huge supporters of ECU baseball and all athletics as well. But go support them when you can if you ever have any needs to get a lift. But great people, great company, so go support them when you can. All right, that was the episode with Blake Hardegree. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, his testimony was tremendous, hearing all of his crazy stories about his life going through baseball and ending up a Pirate. But no, he's a great mentor of mine, as I mentioned. But hope you guys enjoyed. We're going to have more guests on like him in the future, but a couple players coming on the next couple episodes. So hope you guys enjoyed and keep tuning in.